The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the metallic tang of fear as the small band of early humans huddled together in the shadow of jagged cliffs. They had survived countless seasons by instinct alone, scraping life from the unforgiving land with nothing but primitive tools and sharp instincts honed by countless generations. Yet tonight something unprecedented stirred in the sky. Sound unlike thunder, deeper, vibrating through bone and soil alike, split the night. Shadows twisted unnaturally as a brilliant, iridescent craft descended, hovering silently above their trembling forms, light spilling in a spectrum they could not name, casting their wide-eyed, terrified faces into an otherworldly glow. The humans froze, unable to move, hearts hammering as figures emerged from the luminous craft. Tall, slender beings with skin like liquid silver, eyes reflecting galaxies, and gestures that radiated calm authority. They did not speak in any language the humans could understand, yet thought and comprehension flowed as if through a shared stream of consciousness, filling the minds of the early humans with images of fire mastery, hunting strategies, and the cultivation of roots and plants. Confusion warred with awe. Some ran screaming into the darkness, while others remained rooted, mesmerized by the beings' fluid movements and the invisible energy that seemed to pulse from them. Time itself seemed to warp. The night stretched into eternity, yet the humans felt no hunger, no pain, only an urgent sense of understanding being imprinted upon their minds. One of the more daring humans, a young male with a jagged scar across his brow, reached out instinctively, and the silver-skinned alien mirrored the gesture, closing the distance in a blink that made the human's head spin. Images of hunting in packs, making traps from wood and stone, and using fire to bend the world to survival flashed like lightning. Then came the lesson of fire's deeper potential: control, expansion, and protection. The humans' primitive instincts absorbed these visions, embedding knowledge their kind had never dreamt possible. The sky rippled with silent energy as the aliens demonstrated constructing crude shelters with tools that reshaped reality. Around them, rocks levitated, vines twisted unnaturally to interlock, and even the stubborn earth seemed to obey their gestures. Fear twisted into exhilaration as understanding dawned in the human minds. These beings were not gods, not spirits, but teachers of survival, whose technology and consciousness far exceeded their own. Night after night the lessons continued, and the humans changed in ways invisible to the eye. Muscles grew stronger, senses sharper, instincts more precise, as if evolution had been fast-forwarded under alien guidance. Yet even amid the wonder, unease gnawed. The humans could sense a limit, a boundary to this imparted power, and the aliens' expressions, though unreadable, hinted at a purpose beyond mere teaching. They were shaping something, and the humans did not yet know whether they were being prepared to survive or to serve. As the first light of dawn crept across the jagged terrain, the craft vanished as silently as it had appeared, leaving behind humans who were no longer merely hunters and gatherers, but sentinels of knowledge they could scarcely comprehend. Shadows lingered where the light had touched, and a strange energy pulsed through the veins of every survivor. The young male with the scar felt it most vividly, a relentless whisper. At the edge of thought, a question of destiny and choice that had been seeded by beings from the stars. The humans returned to their caves, moving as if in a dream, yet the world now pulsed with hidden patterns and instructions, subtle yet undeniable, shaping every decision, every survival choice. That night the first fire they made alone burned brighter, hotter, controlled, and safe, and with it, the first real understanding that the universe was not only alive but watching. The suspense of the unknown mingled with exhilaration and fear, leaving them restless, sleepless, hearts pounding with both awe and terror, for they knew life had shifted irrevocably, and what had come to teach them survival could not be forgotten, nor fully understood. Not yet. Days blurred into nights, as the humans struggled to reconcile their instincts with the knowledge seared into their minds, each moment a mixture of awe and terror. For the aliens, lessons had awakened powers and understanding that seemed almost unnatural for their kind. Hunting became an intricate dance of strategy and precision. Traps once crude now mirrored the invisible designs they had seen in the alien visions, and fire was no longer merely warmth or protection but a tool to manipulate, to dominate, to transform the environment around them. Yet the more they learned, the more the humans began to notice the subtle signs of the aliens' true intentions. patterns in the stars that seemed to map their movements, unnatural alignments in the forest that directed their path, and at night, a distant hum that resonated deep in their bones, as if something was being set in motion beyond their understanding. The young male with the scar, now more attuned than the others, began to sense a presence even when the sky was empty, a whisper of consciousness threading through the air and into his mind, guiding, nudging, and sometimes warning. His dreams became vivid corridors of alien architecture, tunnels of glowing symbols and living metal, where shadows moved with purpose, and a single phrase repeated endlessly without sound: survive, learn, prepare. It was during one of these nights that the first confrontation happened. A rival human clan, seeing the newfound skills of his group, attacked with crude weapons and primal fury, but the humans who had learned from the stars defended with a terrifying precision, fire flaring like living serpents' traps, springing with calculated timing, and instincts honed to almost superhuman levels. The attackers fled, leaving the young male staring at the carnage, a horrifying realization settling in. This power the aliens gave was not neutral. It reshaped not only survival but dominance, and he began to question whether they had been chosen merely to live or to conquer. The nights became restless, filled with a mixture of exhilaration and dread, as every shadow seemed to hide knowledge and every movement of wind carried a hint of alien calculation. Then came the first sign of direct contact, a pulsing light far over the horizon that seemed alive, and from it, a projection of the silver-skinned beings appeared, larger than life, their eyes reflecting stars and unknown galaxies, their form vibrating with the energy of worlds. They did not speak. Yet the human minds understood. The training was far from complete, and the final lesson would be tested. Panic and wonder intertwined as the young male led his people toward the light. Through terrain that twisted unnaturally, responding to unseen forces yet always guiding them forward. Suddenly the ground beneath them quaked as if the planet itself were alive, the trees bending in impossible directions, and the humans realized that the aliens were not only teaching survival but forcing them to confront an environment that was no longer predictable, that obeyed rules beyond human comprehension. One by one the humans were pushed to their limits. Some faltered, terrified, retreating into primal fear, while others, driven by the alien guidance, adapted using fire, traps, and instinct in ways that surpassed any natural expectation. The young male with the scar led the charge, feeling the alien energy flow through him, a heady mixture of power and fear, until at the final moment, when the terrain shifted like liquid and a chasm threatened to swallow them, the humans realized they could manipulate the elements themselves. Through the knowledge instilled in their minds, fire became more than light. Stones moved with intention, vines twisted and held as if commanded, and the chasm closed just enough for them to pass. Exhausted but alive, they reached the center of the alien light, and the beings materialized fully around them, their presence almost unbearable in its intensity. Then came the revelation. The survival lessons had been only a test, a trial not of the body but of will, adaptability and morality, and the humans had passed. Yet the aliens' gaze was not one of reward but of scrutiny, weighing potential, measuring capability, and planting the seeds of something that could either become humanity's salvation or its ultimate doom. The young male felt a tremor in his chest as understanding hit. They had been chosen, not merely to survive but to inherit knowledge that could reshape the species itself. And the responsibility was suffocating, terrifying in its immensity. The aliens vanished as silently as ever, leaving behind the humans changed, their senses heightened, instincts sharpened beyond normal bounds, and a haunting clarity that life as it had been was over. The chasm closed behind them, sealing the landscape as if untouched by alien influence. Yet the echoes of power remained, vibrating through the soil, rocks, and bones, leaving them to wonder what price survival demanded and what the next stage of evolution might cost. Every night the sky pulsed faintly, reminding them that watching eyes and guiding hands were never far, and the suspense of waiting for the next encounter gnawed at their consciousness. A relentless whisper that survival was only the beginning, not the end, and that what they had learned was not merely about living, but about becoming something far beyond any human reckoning. Humans awoke to a horizon ablaze with unnatural light. The sky fractured in colors that no human mind had names for, and an eerie silence hung over the land, broken only by the whisper of their own heightened senses, now attuned to energies they could not explain. The young male with the scar, whose mind had become a conduit for the alien lessons, felt the pulse of something vast, something that had been waiting, calculating, and watching since their first encounter, and he realized with chilling clarity that the aliens had returned not to teach, but to judge. The ground beneath them shifted subtly, responding to the collective fear and anticipation of the humans, and suddenly, towering forms of alien craft emerged from the fractured sky, their surfaces rippling like liquid mirrors, reflecting not only the humans but their deepest instincts and fears. The silver-skinned beings descended once more, not with gestures of teaching, but with an aura of command that forced the humans to their knees, hearts hammering, instincts screaming, yet minds flooded with visions of unimaginable power and equally unimaginable consequence. The young male felt the alien energy push him to a precipice of understanding. Every skill, every insight, every lesson had been designed to awaken something latent within their species, a primal potential that could either elevate them beyond survival or destroy everything they knew. One by one, the humans were tested in visions that fused reality and hallucination, fighting spectral predators, navigating impossible landscapes, and mastering forces that seemed to bend physics itself. Yet with each success, a growing fear took hold. The aliens' trials demanded more than skill. They demanded morality, restraint, and an understanding of consequences beyond human comprehension. The young male with the scar watched as some of his companions faltered, their minds breaking under the weight of knowledge too vast to contain, disappearing into shadows that seemed to consume both body and essence. And he realized that survival was no longer physical. It was existential, a trial of the soul as much as of the body. Then, as the climax of the ordeal approached, the aliens revealed the ultimate truth. The knowledge they had imparted was a gift, but also a weapon, a blueprint for evolution that could accelerate humanity's development, or annihilate it if misused. And the young male understood with a jolt that every fire mastered, every trap set, every instinct sharpened had been a thread in a larger design, weaving them into agents capable of shaping the planet itself. A violent storm erupted across the sky, lightning striking impossibly precise patterns, and the humans, guided by the alien energy within them, manipulated fire, stone, and earth to shield themselves, feeling power that was intoxicating yet terrifying. Every action a test, every survival a measure of readiness. In the final moment, the young male faced a vision of the planet itself, alive and sentient, trembling under unseen forces, and the aliens' presence loomed over it like titans, their eyes galaxies reflecting not judgment but opportunity, the chance to ascend, or to fail catastrophically, summoning every ounce of learned instinct, courage, and alien-given insight. He acted, directing fire, stone, and plant in a precise, terrifying dance of control, and the storm obeyed, bending, twisting, and finally dissipating, leaving the humans standing amidst a transformed landscape, alive, changed, and more than human. The aliens regarded them silently, their forms shimmering like the edge of reality, and then, without a word, disappeared, leaving only a faint resonance in the air, a memory of power and a warning etched into the very essence of life. The young male and the remaining humans looked around at each other, understanding in unspoken terms that the world they had known was gone, replaced by one shaped by alien knowledge and human adaptation, a world in which they were no longer merely survivors but custodians of a legacy far beyond their comprehension. As night fell and stars shimmered in patterns that seemed to guide rather than adorn, the young male with the scar stared upward, feeling the alien energy thrumming in his veins, and knew that the trials had ended, but the responsibility, the suspense, and the potential for both wonder and catastrophe would haunt humanity forever. The land itself seemed alive. Every shadow, every rustle of wind, every flicker of fire a reminder of the lessons learned, the power granted, and the fine line between survival and dominion. Humanity had been taught to endure, to master, to evolve. Yet in that mastery lay the ultimate shock. They were no longer merely part of the earth. They were agents of change, capable of shaping destiny itself, and the future, uncertain and terrifying, waited for their first decisive step. The chapter of instinct had closed. The chapter of conscious, empowered evolution had begun, and as the humans moved forward, hearts pounding with exhilaration and fear, they carried the inescapable truth. The aliens had left them alive, not to simply survive,